You're listening to the Studio PTBO podcast, where we talk all things marketing to help you build and grow your business online. Welcome to the latest episode. Welcome to the Studio PTBO podcast. We are back, and we're back at it again with another guest. We are live here on Facebook. We're live on YouTube. We're live on a bunch of channels. If you are live with me, throw a live in the chat below. If you're watching the replay, throw a replay. If you're back listening on iTunes or Spotify, I want to say thank you more than anything. It really does mean the world to me. I mentioned a little while ago that we have essentially resurrected the Studio PTBO podcast. So we did 123 episodes interviewing the top 7 and 8-figure entrepreneurs from really around the world. And I had a co-host, and now we've kind of resurrected the podcast, and now I'm doing it myself. Really with the goal to provide massive value back to the entrepreneurial and real estate community with marketing and mindset knowledge to help you build, grow, and scale your business online. And today I actually have a really special guest with me that's going to talk about the real estate market and what it's like in California. For those that don't know, I recently have, trying to make the move down to Marina Del Rey, California. And Leo Chen is here in the house with me, virtually anyways. And Leo, I want to say thank you for joining me today. Leo is actually a client of ours at Studio PTBO. We're working together. And really today we want to kind of chat about what you're seeing in the marketplace. But before we kind of get there, like, why don't you give us like a high level overview on kind of like how you got here today and how we had lunch the other day, and I kind of got to hear your backstory. So if you can maybe just share kind of your backstory and how you got into real estate with our audience today, that'd be great.
Thank you so much, Cody. I'm super excited to be here. I'm allowed to talk to anybody who's, in marketing or in real estate, or just, this awesome California lifestyle we got here. So my backstory is that I worked in tech for over 15 years in the interactive agency space, which is a ad agency, full service ad agency. That means all across the board, from brand to campaigns, to strategy, to actual designs, to the programming and tech and video, and then to the hosting and execution of the websites and all the multi-channel, multi-cross country kind of servicing for getting the sites and assets up for large clients, Fortune 500 and above. So did that for a long time, and really got a bit, I wouldn't say burned out. It's just that I just felt like I could serve the public more when I can directly help them in person and servicing them. And my mom has been a real estate agent for over 35 years. I'm always down here in the Orange County, Southern California area. And I sort of taken a look at what that business is like and realized that was perfect for me, because I didn't really want to work for a company my entire life. I wanted to be an entrepreneur, which I had all the management skills that I had acquired over time. And real estate was perfect because it had no ceilings. I could work, as much as I want, as least as I want, and be able to work with the people I want, whenever I want. And so that's really the whole gamut of the whole thing. I'm sure people out there who are entrepreneurs could really appreciate that kind of a mentality, going in. And as you guys know, real estate right now is very, very exciting. Everybody's talking about real estate, whether they want real estate, whether they want to invest in real estate, whether they want to figure out what they're going to do with their real estate, or moving across country, like multi-country, like Cody here. So that's a little quick little background about me. So because of my digital background, I bring a lot of that into my real estate business to leverage as much as possible.
I love what you said about like to do what you want, when you want, with who you want, because like that idea for me is the ideology of financial freedom, is like the ability to do whatever you want with whoever you want, whenever you want, work as little, work as much as you possibly can. And that's really, I think that's often lost in real estate. And I think that's often lost in the entrepreneurial journey, because like, it's like a lot of people get into real estate, and like we see this all the time, get into real estate and they think that, I can kind of make my own hours, or I can, and then they quickly realize, okay, in the beginning, I might need to work, 30, I might need to work 50, 60 hours. What was your journey in real estate? And like how, like, cause you have that background in the tech space, which is like amazing. And like when we started working with you, like you had a bunch of, there's a program for people that don't know, there's a program called Zapier that essentially allows you to automate a lot of your tasks, and it allows you to, really like automate really anything. And when I saw your Zapier setup, I was like, oh, okay, you're different than the vast majority of real estate agents in regards to understanding the tech side in order to leverage your time. So how did you kind of get there? What advice would you have to a real estate agent or an entrepreneur who just doesn't really understand the tech side? Because so much of what's happening in the real estate space, and we'll start here, maybe speaking to kind of some of our real estate clients, and we'll get into the what's happening in the real estate space a little bit later. But like, I want to speak to the tech stuff right now. Like, how can people learn how to do this stuff for themselves that can help them leverage their time to give them the freedom that they want inside their business?
I think just start by thinking about how you communicate as a real estate agent. You're communicating with your clients. You're maybe communicating with your escrow officers. You're communicating with lenders and things like that. Communication is probably the most important thing for real estate agents. And unfortunately, we've had a bad rap of people saying that, yeah, I call my agent, he doesn't call me back. And so this is the reason for some of these tech tools to allow us to be able to do that. And since the invention of voice over IP, which is digital phone, which you can call from your computer, call from your phone, call from your tablet, you can call from literally any device nowadays. It allows people to be able to kind of connect those dots and be able to always answer phone one way or another. A lot of small businesses are using that now to kind of it's like your own little phone switchboard, if you're old enough to know what that is. So Zapier is one of those tools. Is a bit of a switchboard to be able to, like, oh, somebody come in on an email. I wanted to go over here to send a message or a text or whatever it may be to my assistant so that they can log it, they can notify me, they can get it to the right people to be able to do that. Where prior to a tool like this, you had to have a dedicated assistant sit there and literally take calls and then do all that stuff manually. And so I think I started, and I would probably recommend this. I started messing with more of this stuff by starting with the calendar. When you can manage your calendar and you can get your meetings in, and they show up on your calendar, you look at your phone, and you know what you're going to be doing in the next half hour, in the next 4 hours, what interviews, for example, are coming up. You show up on time. And if you may have a call that you need to do with a client because you told them you would call today, you'd be notified for that stuff. And so a tool for that would be Calendly, and be able to use Calendly. And there's many others. Calendly just seems to be the most easiest to get into, very intuitive. And you can book anything on there, and people can book it with you without having to get on the phone with you, ask you what your available time is,
Totally.
then find out what their available time is, and then be able to book something. So they can just pick it themselves, and it will already show what your available opening time is. So I have probably about 6 to 8 calendars for different things, for different type of people. One for clients, one for vendors, one for miscellaneous appointments I have to make, one with for marketing, or one with masterminds and stuff like that. So it's really helpful to be able to kind of schedule those things without you having to actually call people, text people, and coordinate with them. So if you started with that you would be way ahead of 95% of the people, just being able to have appointments booked without you having to manually figure out what your time blocks are.
Yeah, it's one of those things that, like, I think that the tech stuff becomes so difficult for people to, what I've seen, like, for people to kind of wrap their heads around, like, the actual starting of actually blocking off time in their calendar. But we know that, like, freedom is created in the calendar. Like I say to our team all the time, like, if it's on your calendar, it's not going to happen. What, like, would you say, other than the calendar, would be the first thing that you would recommend to a real estate agent in order to kind of get themselves organized, that essentially allows them? Because, like, there's an element of what you're doing where it's like you have the automation side of things, but you also are delegating some things. Like, we chatted about this at lunch the other day about you delegating things to virtual assistants. Like, what was kind of the process when you were building your real estate business that essentially allowed you, there was the element of automation. How did you find like your virtual assistants, and what was kind of the process that you went through in order to kind of free up your time to continue to grow your real estate business?
Yeah, I think these days for entrepreneurs, especially when you are, trying to work at a very high level, you need assistance of some sort to be able to be in the background to kind of handle things while you are doing the sales, while you are doing the important things of meeting with clients or trying to close and negotiate, a big deal. Like I could never imagine not having my assistants doing things in the background while I'm out working, with the client. My client, I was just at a showing just before I came on here, and she said, "Hey, we're looking at this home, and I really like it. What's the property tax on this? What's the Melrose additional tax on top of it? What is it for this property?" And I couldn't tell you off the top of my head, but I could send quick text and say, "Hey, my assistant already know what appointment I'm on, what address I'm at, what hey, pull the tax records and send them to me right now. Within a few minutes, we have it," and say, "Okay, here you go." We have literally somebody that could just feed us information that we need to be able to give clients we would have done ourselves.
Totally.
So that's something that the assistant's really helpful for. I think I shared this with you, and I think everyone would probably get a lot of understanding and value on this. Is that when you run a restaurant, like you're not the sample giver, and then you're the waitress taking orders, and then you're the cashier, and then you go in the back and you cook the food, and you come
Yeah,
back out and serve it to them, and then you got to go run back, and then you gotta get the check, and then run the credit card. Like you're not like no restaurant runs like that, right?
totally.
And the customer knows that's the experience that we get. We get a taste from one person, we get helped and get our orders done and answer any questions from another. We pay for another person to help us, run the cart, and there's definitely dedicated people in the back, making the great food that you're gonna experience, right? And so no different with our business. We need those assistants to be able to do that. So
Mhm.
that's really where the idea is. And in relation to real estate, though, you think about the same kind of roles. If I have to show homes this afternoon to a client who wants to buy a house here in Southern California, um, what do I have to do? I have to send her home so she can look at which one she wants to see in person. I have to answer any questions about them. Then I have to go and call the listing agent and coordinate the time when the home is available to show, as well as my client when she or he wants to see that home. And then I have to actually drive and go show up and meet the client, right, and see the home. And I might see anywhere from 3 to 5 to 6 homes in the 3 hour span, and I have to come back and they're going to say, "Hey, we like these 2 or 3, we want to make an offer on these 3 homes." Now I have to go and write the contracts and have to write all that stuff, and then I have to call the listing agent, say, "Hey, the offer is coming, here's what's going on,
Yeah,
what else do I need to know?" Like it's even more complex than the restaurant example that I've given you.
totally. Yeah.
So we look at that entire process and we say, okay, what can I outsource? What can a assistant do in place so that I can show up and do the things that my assistants can't do? All the
Mhm.
coordinating of the schedules, all the calling of the listing agent and the client to coordinate the times, put together a itinerary of what homes we're going to see, where, and what time exactly, and then she can also prepare the offer right on the fly. So I
Yeah.
could be showing one house. She says, "This is definitely the one. We definitely want to make an offer on this." I send a quick text. My assistant's already writing the offer out. By the time I get home, I can take a few minutes to review, send it for signatures.
When we build SOPs, because like obviously like that's something that's important for a real estate agent when they're looking to hire a virtual assistant. We're using tools like Loom, and we're using tools like Scribe in order to build out a standard operating procedures. What other advice would you have for real estate agents that are looking to hire their first virtual assistant? that essentially is going to allow them to actually scale their business, to be able to write title, title and escrow, to be able to, send them listings, to be able to do all the things that we just kind of chatted about effectively, as they actually have the ability to scale their business and grow. And like, what advice would you have for them?
Yeah, great question. Because not that long ago, I was in the same position, and I will say, just from what I've learned, and I've hired over time, I've probably hired 8 to 10 assistant, not all at one time, but along the way, and have been able to gone through the process of finding and hiring and getting them to work, that whole process. And so I love this question because I really didn't have any idea myself.
Mm-hmm.
And so what I would say is start by looking at a process, one SOP that you would like to kind of uh, not automate, but just optimize,
Mm-hmm.
because you're not optimized if you're doing every single part of it. Optimizes means that you have team members or assistants that can help you with portions of that process so that you can do more of that process at the same time. So what in that process do you need someone else to do that they can do? Fortunately, most virtual assistants these days all have a very good knowledge stack of all the things that we would know, such as organizing emails, being able to manage your calendars, being able to text and coordinate schedules. Those are the basics. Being able to, say, create uh, a a Google sheet to organize something for you, so you can take a look at it at a glance, an executive report of some sort.
Totally.
Okay, any of those core tools, they all know how to use. So it's really kind of looking at your process and say, what part of this process do I not want to do, and do I want to allow someone to be over and over and over again, and I can have them do many times over, so that I can be the cook to cook the best food ever, or I can be the waiter or waitress that only wants to just talk to people and make them happy.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. That makes a whole lot of sense. Like the, mapping out every step of the journey so that you can like clearly train and give them the tools that you want them to do. Like I think early on, speaking from a marketing agency, early on, it's like you sometimes get somebody in, you're like, hey, I want to do all these things, but I, you need to map out what you actually want them to do. And that was like kind of a lesson that I've learned over the last little while, which is like why we use tools like Loom and Scribe that actually begins to map out the what, the how, the why. Like recently, last year, we hired a process agency in order to help us build out our processes. Because what I've come to realize over the last little while with VAs and with virtual assistants, it's like you can tell them the what, you can tell them the how, but sometimes they won't do it because they don't know why they need to do it. And that's like one of the most important elements that we've been really trying to build our processes around. It's like this, here's what you do, here's how you do it, and here's why you do it. Because if you don't do it this way, this is what can potentially happen. And we don't want that to happen. So I'm really curious when it comes to real estate currently, what you're seeing right now, kind of in a large scope, kind of transitioning around like what's happening in the market right now. Because realtors, as I talked to so many, like really from around North America, every agent's like, will say, well, this is what's happening in my market. But I'm seeing this kind of happen across the board where there's low inventory and there's a good amount of buyers, but a lot of people don't want to sell their homes. Like, what can real estate agents do, or let's start with real estate agents. What can real estate agents do in order to generate more business, in order to generate those sellers? Or like, should they, in a low inventory market, should they still be looking at buyers? Should they still be looking at sellers? Like, what are you doing right now that you're finding is really effective?
Well, I love this question because every agent is thinking about this right now.
Mm-hmm.
They're thinking about, like, a market is crazy. Everybody's telling me it's crazy. I'm looking around. I'm doing, a deal here that took much longer than it would normally under normal circumstances before COVID, and inventory is low, and sellers don't want to sell because they think they can't buy another home and at the same price and things like that. And so I think to answer that question a little bit better is that, first of all, everybody's online, right? our lower rate of physical contact. I mean, it's getting more and more back to normal a bit, but we're still not nowhere near what it was before COVID. So, you know, the digital internet space is huge. Everybody starts everything from either their phone or on the computer, finding homes and stuff like that. So if you don't have a digital presence or marketing strategy for yourself, like you're really gonna shoot yourself in the foot. Maybe not now, maybe not a year or two from now, but like that's going to go away. You can only show yourself so many times in person, where online people are really starting to embrace everything online, including real estate agents, because traditionally they were introduced by someone in person, and they got to know them, and then they used them as real
Mhm.
estate agents. But now we have to show up, digitally wherever our clients may be. And so I would say number one, have a great digital presence. Whatever that might be, start something. Just like us doing here, you can easily put together something like this to be able to talk about real estate, and you can focus specifically for buyers or sellers out there that are looking to buy, what kind of struggles they might be in, and it'll be super super helpful to them. And I'll also say that for real estate agents, just kind of put a little cherry on top of this is, not many people think about it this way, but renters renters become buyers,
Yeah.
buyers become sellers, and then sellers become either buyers again, or they become investors of
Mhm.
some sort. Okay, or they become sellers and buyers again because they want to downsize or upsize. So
Mhm.
this whole chain of clientele that we have, like we should just leverage that, right? There's a lot of renters who are not being helped right now. I wish they were better helped. My heart goes out to all those people that don't have anybody to help them, and they have no idea how to find a property to rent. They don't have no idea what they're supposed to submit. They have no idea what the guidelines are at all. And those people are potential buyers in like a year, or even less than a year if they start
Yeah,
looking 9 months from now. So
totally.
we want to really help those people, because personally, I can't speak for other people. Personally, I'm in the business of uh, uh, getting clients, and they become my clients for life.
Yeah.
Okay, so I'm going to service them today, and I'm going to service them tomorrow, and I'm going to service them down the road when they have kids and things like that, because they have somebody to go to that they can trust, not only to buy and sell their home, but someone who can give them updates of information so that they can make the right decisions for their family. So our team here worked the whole chain. Whether you're an investor trying to buy multifamily, or you're a renter just trying to get started, on saving up some money, rent for now. Make sure you have enough space for kids and going to school and things like that, and really hone down on saving that money for the down payment, being able to buy. So we're just want to do all that on both ends to be sure that we can help everybody in real estate.
And that is so interesting because like I've brought that up with people before, like playing the long term game, like and shout out to Sharon, like like he's massive in the real estate industry, and he talks about this all the time about how there's now buyers and there's later buyers, and it's like treating everybody that comes into your circle of influence or your sphere of influence with respect and care, whether they're renting, whether they're buying, whether they're looking to sell. It's like the biggest thing I think I've learned over the last couple of years that if I could share with any real estate agent is that like when you advertise online and you just help everyone, or you point somebody in the right direction to somebody else who can help them, they will be the ones that they might not buy, but they're going to refer you to somebody that actually wants to buy. I can't count the amount of times that, like, just by producing content, like it's like somebody sees this and then they connect us with a real estate agent, and then that real estate agent connects us with somebody else, and it's like the same thing for real estate agents. It's like if you're out there, you're active on social media. It's like maybe you help a renter, but then that renter, like the other element is like they connect you with somebody who wants to buy because you treated them with respect and care. And it's like, what do you think is the hold in the real estate industry that essentially is the barrier for having every agent just do that? Like what do you think it is? Why aren't more agents helping renters rent? Like, you
Yeah.
know, like
Yeah.
why? I just don't, I don't know. And I would love to hear from an actual real estate agent's perspective.
Yeah, yeah. No, I want to connect the dot a little bit because I'm really glad you brought that up because you said we have, now buyers and we have a not now buyers. Not now buyers doesn't mean that they're not buyers at all. They're just not the right timing for them for whatever reason, right? So you have now and not now. But then as real estate agents, the same thing, right? We have now money and we have not now money, right? So if you're only working with now money, which is a smaller percentage of people, then you're only going to reap so much. And I love that you brought up like, okay, they're renters right now, but you have two ways to gain a sale from a renter. You have one where they will rent something and you'll get a small fee for that. But then when they buy, that is also the future money, not really now money, but that's future money that you could have that they when they're ready to buy that they're going to use you. Okay, but what we always forget, I even forget sometimes too, is that renter will refer you to one, two, three, four other people who are now buyers,
Mm-hmm.
right? And so I think that's what we tend to forget. We only see, the penny in front of us, but not
Totally.
the $10 or $100, like, a few steps, over. And I think that's what we're missing out on. And that's why, we want to work the chain. We want to work the entire spectrum of people. Now, that doesn't mean we work with every single person that just, says anything. We just want to know, I'm happy to work with them if they are, you know, we call them 5-star prospects, right? If they
Totally.
if they engage with us, okay, they're friendly and collaborative, right? And then they know what they want, they know when they want it, and they want to work with us,
Mm-hmm.
right? If they're doing all those things, I don't care if they're renters or multifamily investors. Like, hey, we're in. I can help you. Like, we can get
Mm-hmm.
this done, and making sure that I have the manpower and leverage and the systems to be able to support everybody. I think what
Totally.
agents get scared of is they don't have enough support for themselves, whether it's assistants or team members or things like that. So they're scared. Okay, I only have this much time, so I only can work with the clients that are going to give me money now. But
Yeah.
what they don't realize is that you make the money now, you start over again. You gotta hunt for your steak every single day.
Yeah.
Right? And so it
You
becomes a very, very nerve-wracking, kind of business.
Yeah, and that's where I think people see the roller coaster ride of commission, where it's like, 1 month is great, 1 month, like, and you said, like hunting for your steak. I've never really heard it put that way. I've heard the roller coaster ride of commission. What can, what other things can you think realtors can do in order to keep a steady flow of business other than hiring more people and creating systems and processes? And there might not be more, but like I'm just curious. Like, I really want to pick your brain here.
Yeah, no, I think there's a multi-answer question, and some of it depends on what makes you happy as a real estate agent.
Mm,
I know some people that they love to door knock and like they can door knock all day and they can do all that and you can have a lot of success with that because you're getting right in front of people.
yeah.
you know and then there's other people who love love to call and make phone calls or text and things like that. Well, I don't think we all have enough time for all that stuff, and we just want that's why we make content, right? Because you
Mhm.
can make content once and it's possible 1,000 people can see it,
Totally.
right? And so you can how many pieces of content can you make in a day? Like if
Mhm.
you make 3 a day and you make that 5 days a week, like you're going to reach, thousands and thousands of people all the time, right? And with our free platforms with, you know, Twitter, Facebook, LinkedIn, and Instagram, like those are all free platforms that you can readily do that. So I think just kind of get your face out there and share something valuable, and build on top of that. Like
Mhm.
you'll see the returns on that, many times over. So you're doing what's called attracting, right, in marketing, rather than having to hunt every single time.
Totally.
So I think I would recommend people just not be shy about it and just be yourself. And you got to be yourself when you see clients. Be yourself online. It's the same. It's
Right.
exactly.
Yeah, totally. Totally. I really want to shift gears and I want to speak to, maybe the market right now because like, we've spoken to really to real estate agents today. I want to shift to people that like, might be listening that are maybe entrepreneurs or solopreneurs, or maybe they're just like they're in a job right now, or they're working in marketing and they want to buy a home. And right now the market seems so astronomically crazy. It seems like prices are increasing, especially in Canada. Like, and you can mainly speak to the US, but in Canada, I know like homes are going over asking like by like $200,000, $300,000 over asking. What would you say to the buyer that wants to get into the market that doesn't know even the process or hasn't even potentially reached out to a mortgage broker? They just don't know where to start. Where I think that is a lot of the times what happens. They don't know where to start. What would you say?
I think those are all valid concerns, and a lot of people are thinking that right now. I can't necessarily speak directly with the Canadian market, which I know is also showing a lot of appreciation like us in the U.S. But uh, in the U.S., we printed $7 trillion plus.
Mhm.
And as a function of adding more money into the economy, we're going to have inflation, right? And so a lot of these prices going up are a function of our economy and how our monetary system works. And so I think that the prices going up is normal. You put that much money into the economy, you're going to expect inflation to happen, which
Yeah.
is what's happening. And we see it first in real estate because it's increasing. And anytime real estate is increasing, people want to buy because they think, oh, I can make quick money. I can,
Yeah.
sell it. Just let me get in. Let me just get the loan. And loans were interest rates were at historic low at the same time. This creates like a perfect storm, right? So I want to just tell people out there that want to that have interest in buying a home is that if you wanted to go buy something at the store and if you didn't know that there was tax on top of that product that you bought, let's say it's $10, but actually cost you $11 because of tax,
Yeah.
right? And you went to the store with $10 in hand. You go, oh my God, it's $11. I don't have that $11. I didn't bring it with me. I don't have it. How am I going to buy this? And somebody else says, well, I'll buy it. I got $12 in my pocket. Here, I give you 11 right now. Right. So the price of the products is not $10. You don't look at the price when you're purchasing. You think it's $10. You show up with $10. You think you're going to buy that product and you don't get it. Right. You're short. And that's what's happening with our real estate market. Right. We have these listing prices out there on the internet and you go, okay, well, it's $600,000. It's $1 million home. Well, that's the price. But then with the market the way it is, it's actually that isn't the purchase price. The purchase price is what people will bid for, and we can nail down the analytics about how much appreciation, how much percentage for us to really get pretty accurate about how much we think it'll sell for based on all the data we already have. So I don't want you to show up with $1 million to buy a $1.2 million house that basically is not listed for 1.2, it's listed for 999.
Mhm.
Right? So just be prepared and know the real cost.
Mhm.
That was the reason I brought the example of the product, right? The
Totally.
real cost is $11, right?
Mhm.
The price for sale is $10, but the real cost is $11. So show up with the real cost, and you
Yeah.
do that by talking to a mortgage specialist that's going to get all the information for you and find out what you can qualify for. What is the lender willing to give you loan you for you to buy that home? If you don't know that, it's almost like you don't know how much money is in your pocket, so how are you going to buy anything?
Yeah. Totally.
So
Yeah.
those two things I would really hope people take that to heart.
Mhm.
Hey, the starting point is, let me find out how much somebody is willing to loan me based on my income, based on my credit, based on how much money I have on hand. And then number two is know what the real cost of the home.
The real cost. I'm really interested about talking about down payment because that's where I feel like a lot of people struggle with is down payment. Like, what I guess, are options or that you're seeing that are allowing people to get into a home that lack maybe the down payment? Maybe they can afford the mortgage on a monthly basis, but they're like, I just don't have the money for the down payment. I know in Canada, for example, majority of, there was a stat that came out recently that there was 40% of first-time home buyers in Canada received up to $70,000 for a down payment from their families. So what are like some options that people that are saying, hey, I want to get into a home, how much do I actually need? And maybe it's like, could it potentially be less than we actually think? Like, are we not going to the bank because we think it's more than it is? Is that a potential? And like, maybe walk us through some scenarios that you're seeing that is really helping people enter the market when they just maybe don't know they can enter the market.
Yeah, great question. More than what I'm seeing in my market, more than 80% of, so that's 8 people out of 10, are still thinking that they need 20% down to buy a home. And that's just not the case anymore. So that's number one. Okay. Number two is that there are many programs that allows you to 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 pay lower down payment. And with the interest rate being low and everything, like I would try to pay as least amount of down payment possible to be able to get the home you want. Like that's the leverage,
Mm-hmm.
right? So for us, Fannie Mae's FHA loans can do anywhere from 3 to 5% down payment, and then VA loans, if you're a veteran, like you don't have to pay any down. The government's going to back your loan for you, and you don't have to have
Interesting.
any down payment. You might have a
Okay.
little small fee, but it's very, very, very minor compared to, say, even a 5 or 10 or 15%, down payment, because the price of the homes, right? And then you're absolutely right. Like a lot of people are getting help from their family, and they should. Like nobody nowadays have make money fast enough to be able to have a big chunk in down payment. But there are also other ways. You should leverage and get gifts, or either borrow money from family. Like that's always comes to mind. But also, I think people forget, if they have any kind of retirement IRA or 401k or anything like that, the government allows you to borrow against that for literally very, very little interest rate. And then you can use that to buy your home and then pay it back when you can, because it's your own money that you borrowed against.
Okay.
So this is the trick that high level investors use that most of us don't know.
Yeah. Other
You
people's
have it.
money. Yeah.
Well, number one, other people's money, but you're using, your own money that you already have, an asset of some sort, whether it's a business, whether it's another piece of real estate, or whether it's your own IRA or 401k. That's your asset, your money, right? You can borrow from that to buy the real estate that you want, and then be able to leverage the real estate to be able to build a bigger wealth.
100%. That's super helpful. What would be the first step that somebody could take? Obviously, chatting with you in the California market, but say, for example, they're not in the California market. Would you recommend going to a realtor first or to a mortgage broker? How can they take that first step?
Yeah, great question. I think a realtor would be my recommendation, because they already know great mortgage brokers, mortgage specialists that can help them, because they already work with them.
Yeah.
Right.
Okay.
Otherwise, you're kind of just shooting in the dark a little bit. And you just hope that mortgage broker is going to be good for you, and they're not all made the same, right? Not all realtors are the same, and not all lenders and mortgage brokers are the same. So you really, at the end of the day, you really want to get a good one. If you get a good realtor, you have it made, because they have resources beyond what you can even imagine, so that they can give you all the solution that you need, just pretty much a one stop.
Yeah, no, that's great. I want to kind of end here with like talking to sellers. Because right now, obviously, we're in a seller's market. Everyone I talk to in every single state around the US and even in Canada is like, yeah, we're in a seller's market. We want more sellers. Why do you feel like there is low inventory, and why aren't sellers selling right now?
It's like the $60,000 question.
Yeah. Probably more than that.
Yeah,
Probably,
yeah,
you
yeah,
know,
yeah, 100,000, right?
yeah, exactly.
um, there's actually there's it's a kind of a it's kind of a it's kind of a mirage that we're in. Okay, homes are selling really fast because of really high demand, and that's why they're selling for high prices. So homes on the market, I'm sure you would agree. Homes on the market on a Thursday, do an open house Saturday and Sunday. By Monday and Tuesday, they're reviewing offers. Wednesday, it's an escrow, and it could be a 10-day escrow or a 30-day escrow, but it's sold, right? So homes are coming on the market and sold. Homes are coming on the market and sold. Imagine you had a store, you had a shoe store, and as fast as you can stock a pair of shoes up, they were sold. You would think that there's no inventory available, but actually there is an inventory. It's sold just very fast. The velocity is
Yeah,
just very fast.
makes sense.
So I want to break people kind of out of that first. That there's a lot of inventory. It's just being sold quickly. Okay,
Mm,
so what that means to a buyer is that, hey, be prepared, know the prices, have all the information what you're looking for and how much you can afford, and have all your ducks in a row. Um, we have nowadays where lenders and mortgage brokers can approve your loan before you actually make an offer on a home.
mm,
Traditionally, we think like, oh, if you don't have cash, you're going to lose out. Well, when your loan is approved, you're literally coming in just like cash. So that preparation means a lot, right? If you're not ready to go and you make an offer, then that means you need to allow a certain amount of time for the lender to approve your loan. But if you can do
mhm.
that ahead of time, means you already have cash on hand.
Yeah, makes sense.
Okay, so that's number one regarding inventory. Why don't sellers want to sell? Um, Two reasons. One is that they think that if they sold it, that they can't afford what they want. They have no place to go. Okay, and number two, um, they think that the market is crazy, and that they don't want to put themselves at risk, and they rather hunker down, and keep what they have, and everything's fine. um, I think inventory is super low also because of we didn't, prior to COVID, we already in California at least, we had already very low new construction, and that's built up over the years. I like to uh, I like to make the example of like us in California, and you're here now, so you understand this, that we have a drought. We have a persistent drought for like the last 15 years.
Yep.
you know, and so we had a drought of new construction, and then when COVID happened, it just made it a lot worse.
Yeah, totally.
Okay, and so that actually is the bigger issue than people not willing to sell.
That totally makes sense. It's the fact that they're not building new construction as much. That totally makes sense. Leo, thank you more than anything. I think that, we kind of touched on everything. We touched on like, entrepreneurs, real estate agents that want to kind of grow their business, how they can we kind of went all over the place today, but, I just want to say thank you more than anything for taking the time today to kind of talk to our audience, but also talk to people that are, interested in, learning about real estate. If somebody would want to reach out to you, they're in the California market, they're in the Orange County area, what is the best way they could reach you?
Super easy. It's just at Leo Chen RE. RE stands for real estate. So Leo Chen RE on all platforms.
Awesome.
Yeah.
And you might see
So
his ads online too. So if you see his ads online, click them.
yeah. Well, I have to give you a shout out here, Cody, because while we were talking, and I glanced down on my phone, and we had a appointment setting call come in. so you set an appointment while we were here. So I thought that was funny. Like,
That's
oh,
hilarious. I love it.
should I answer it?
Yeah.
But you really, I appreciate the time you take, Cody, and I think just bringing value to everybody out there, real estate entrepreneurs, or marketers out there, of any shape. I want to give a shout out to your company on helping me, fix the front end of our business, which is getting the calls out, getting the leads generated, and then being able to set appointments for us. We can't be any happier than that in regards to the value of that whole solution that you give, because it's not one solution, right? It's not just hey, we'll call for you. It's hey, let us help you generate leads. Let's help you uh, get in touch with them. Let's help you set appointments for those people who are interested, and then that's make sure that we can convert those and make good business. It's a big piece in any sales industry, to be honest.
We we love it because you answer your phone. The live transfers. Yeah, something that we've been really harping on all of our clients: answer your phone, answer your phone. So it's so funny that you're like, like we're doing this podcast, and this is a realistic reason why not to answer your phone when you're on a podcast. So, but from the bottom of my heart, I want to say thank you for your time today. And I want to say thank you to everyone for tuning into another episode of the Studio PTBO podcast. Have another podcast coming up this week as well with Mike Aguilera. Amazing coach. But I want to say thank you to the bottom of my heart for listening. If you're listening back on iTunes or Spotify, I want to say thank you. And thank you once again for tuning into the Studio PTBO podcast. We will see you soon.